most basic of the navigation methods that airplanes have used since mankind started flying was the navigation from a fixed point and following a compass bearing from that fixed point, and know where it is relative to that location by following the airplane's compass. To where on this line that this airplane has traveled, a pilot can use a stopwatch, knowing that an airplane given at a fixed speed traveling from that known location over a given time is going to be a certain distance away from that fixed location. It worked for Lindbergh, for Charles Lindbergh. He crossed the Atlantic Ocean, flew from New York City to Paris, using this method exclusively, which is no small feat. This method of navigation persisted through World War II. We saw some early radio navigation methods, but that's a different episode. A pilot needing to know where he is on either a featureless map or over the ocean or in poor weather. There was a system in the Western influence in the Cold War called the VOR, which stands for Very High Frequency Omnidirectional Radio Beacon. What VOR did is it had a number of radials. It sent out a radio beam on a radial. That beam was on a specific frequency. It had 36 frequencies, so it covered 10-degree increments all around the beacon. Let's see, we're going to simulate a single frequency there. Alright, so that's, I don't know if that's 10 degrees, but that's supposed to be 10 degrees. An aircraft, like this A-10, could kind of know somewhere relative to this fixed point that he was. And if he had this method of navigation as well, he could kind of figure out how far away maybe he was. Now, this radio navigation was always, well, not always, but usually used in pairs. So they had two VOR radios in these airplanes, and what they would do is they would use two different radio frequencies generated by two different beacons, and from that able to kind of get a sort of fix on the aircraft being somewhere in this location. Now this is 10 degrees and that's 10 degrees, and so there is a certain range of places that this aircraft can be, and that would be close enough if you were navigating from city to city. You could tell where you were based off of your paper maps with these marked on that map, and you could use your ruler and pencils, and you could figure out where you were. And the military later on automated was that they could use a second set of frequencies off of the same points. You'd have this 10-degree frequency band, and you could have this frequency band, and by judging the signal strength between the two, you could get an automated, you could kind of tell where you were in this based off of the relationship between the two signals. So that gave you a more precise, you could get down to a 1 degree or less resolution between those two signals, and that made a significant advance in radio navigation precision, and this system became known as the Tactical Aid to Navigation, or Tacan. So the first and most apparent use of Tacan is to tune into a Tacan station and that is located at an airport and navigate to that airport. It will give you, in receive mode, a direct bearing to that Tacan station, and in transmit receive mode it'll give you a distance and a bearing to that station. Secondly, you would be able to figure out where you were in relationship to that station using the reciprocal heading. So you would know your bearing from that station, and in transmit receive mode you would know your distance to that station. So that would be one way of being able to figure out where you were on a map in reference to a fixed location. A third way of using Tacan to navigate would be to use the position known by the Tacan station to a target or to an aircraft or something. In DCS, how it's modeled with the AI comm groups is you have your bullseye right there. So it'll give you a position in reference to bulls. Now bulls, set up by the mission planner in the mission editor, happens to be on a Tacan station. You can get a reference of a distance and heading from bulls of an object. So you may have heard that over the in-game comms, that certain AI engaging armor at this distance and bearing from bulls. That might mean something to you if you were tuned into a Tacan station that was at bulls. So you would be able to know where an object was in relationship to where you were if this was you. If you were able to use your Tacan radio to navigate to a position relative to bulls from the position that you were on your own. So you would be able to then home in using distance and bearing information. You could do that a couple ways. You could, let me put a line there. You could either take your plane, there we put that there. Take that off. Okay, so okay, that did not help. All right. So you could fly your plane either to a radial of that Tacan station and then follow that out using the distance marker out to that, or you could go take your plane and navigate out to that same distance and then follow that distance in to your target until the heading to your Tacan station matched your target, or some combination of the two. A third way of using Tacan would be to get an air-to-air yardstick fix, which is a distance between two aircraft. Now the aircraft Tacan equipment isn't as sophisticated to give you the bearing usually without some work and using some charts, but in DCS it's just simplest to know your distance from another Tacan equipped aircraft. Okay, so I've loaded into my F-5E. I'm going to perform the mission with this aircraft. Situation is a little bit milsim. It says radar reports a surface contact, unable to get a radio response from the vessel. Locate and identify vessel. Vessel is bearing 282 for 26 of bulls. Bullseye, of course, referring to Batumi Tacan on channel 16 X-ray. So objective is to navigate to vessel, ID vessel, then land at Batumi Airport. Alright, so we will reference that again in the future here. Stabilized. It's a cloudy day here in Batumi. My airspeed. Alright. Stay in this little pocket of visibility here so I have some visual reference. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look down at my Tacan radio. Pause real quick so that we can take a look at that. Alright, so there's our radio. That's our channel. That is the power button. There's a volume button. There is a couple switches there. that's going to change this digit. This is going to change that digit. And we can switch on this outside ring between X-ray and Yankee. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to tune into 16 X-ray. Scroll wheel, brings that up. And 16 X-ray. And I'm going to put on transmit receive so we get both bearing and distance information. And information should be populating here once it gets a fix. Let's see. The thing we're going to do, we're going to set this to 282. That Morse code is the Morse code identifier for Tacan. 282. There we go. So that's going to tell us the radial from Batumi Airport. And this should tell us the distance. As soon as it starts working, there we go. It says we are 8 miles from Batumi. And we are off the left of the projected radial. Alright. Let's go right a bit. We need to be further away from Batumi. It's 26 for 282. A lot further away. We're going to stroke straight out west. Those are the radials way left right here. So actually we're going to go southwest. Try to bring that radial line on to our heading indicator. We're at 10 miles. Alright. We are flying. We are at 15,000 feet. Where are we at 15,000 feet? Alright, I'm going to trim down a little bit. Bring the throttle back because here I don't remember why I set the cloud layer to. Past the radio. Okay, well let's do that while we're still in the cloud, above the clouds. So we need to be north of that until we bring that line on. See how it shifted all the way to the right? It means that we are to the left of the radial line. Nice gentle descent here through the soup. About 10 degrees. Wings level. We're 18 miles from the Tacan station. And as you see, the line is coming about center line. I want to keep that about center. No particular reason other than that's where the radial line is relative to where I am. 20 miles. 1,000 feet. 2,000 feet, and we'll level off here. Alright, so we have kind of smoke over there. Alright. Radio and about the right distance. What if that smoke is our target here? Okay, so we are one lost. around this way. So our 27s, we need to go on the verticals, we need to go east 27 miles, which means you overshot it by 1 mile. Not stall, as altitude. And there's more visibility. Back on radial, so it is half a mile in that direction. Okay. Should be within a mile of us here. 26, we should be right above it. Probably something over there. What do we have? That is our fishing vessel. Okay. Wow, we found it in this soup. Alright, so let's go land. Now we've accomplished that portion of the mission. I'm going to set the course indicator. 126. That is the magnetic heading of the Toomey Airport. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get that radial line, which is to the left of me right now, back to the center line. And that should take me to the Toomey Airport. And I should be lined up for landing on the runway. So that should be enough deflection. Fast for my liking. I prefer to be about 3 1,900 feet. It's good. Where I want to be. Just need to put myself on that radial. Go, the needle is starting to deflect. Bring it around to the right. We are on radial with Batumi Airport. Where we were. Tally some smoke. Batumi town over there. Batumi town. Alright. Runway. Again. 3 miles to Batumi. Make a little bit of shoreline out over there. Not much. About 4 miles. You're on radial right now. Inbound. Just to my right. Yep, Batumi. They didn't line up right. Let's go back around. Try that again here. The reciprocal of the runway heading. Get ourselves a little bit more distance.